We're going to go ahead and start our budget hearing for today. Mr. Manager, I'll turn this over to you again. Why don't you lead it?
I'll turn it over to Lindsay.
All right, Lindsay,
Good morning.
you're in charge now.
The County Councilor is our first presentation, and if you want to refer to your binders, it's on page 24 of Volume 1. And I believe you have handouts at each of your desks in there. I'll turn it over to you.
Anybody need any comments?
Well, Counselor, now it's your meeting, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, I'm Eric Yost. I'm your County Councilor. And we're going to make our budget presentation today. Karen will be following along with the technology. I can't be trusted to talk and push buttons at the same time, so she's going to do that. I'd like to begin with our mission as County Councilor's Office, where our job is to provide high-quality, nonpartisan legal services to the county. That includes the commissioners, other elected officials, and department heads who make requests for legal assistance. We also provide and oversee an effective county court system here at the county level. Our office provides Tier 2 services in the sense that we support Tier 1 functions. We have a lot of people, obviously, and you know the difference between Tier 1 and Tier 2. We provide help to the people who are doing things for the county that need to be done. In performing those services internally, we are able to provide consistent legal advice, affordable legal services, timely and dedicated and responsive legal services, and by doing it internally, I think we have a greater efficiency in the provision of those services. In the County Councilor's Office, we have 4 what they call cost centers, kind of a new term for me, but they call it cost centers. They've divided up our budget in those 4 funds. One is purely administrative. That would be much of my salary, Karen's as deputy, and our office administrator. Then we also have the general legal services, where the great bulk of our legal work gets done, and that's, of course, by far the largest part of our budget. We, at some point, the Commission asked, I suppose years ago, to ask us to break out what the cost of the county court was, and of course we also have a line item for outside counsel. The key performance indicators for our office is to provide, is for us to aggressively represent clients, which is you, provide consistent and accurate legal advice to anyone who asks for it from within the county, to provide those services in a cost-effective way, and to monitor any changes in the law, not just in the law that we need to apply, but in helping you to understand what the law is, and even to some degree affecting that law by being active in the legislative process. The first key performance indicator, the part related to aggressively representing clients, we project that in 2017 we'll have about 417 lawsuits or 12105B claims. This does not include what happens in county court. I can get to that in a moment. These are the lawsuits of a more significant nature. And in regard to what else we're doing in aggressively representing the county, we have, of course, it's our duty to represent the appraiser, to uphold valuation when they're challenged, if we think that the challenge is not valid. And so we're anticipating in 2017 we'll uphold, or try to uphold, $405 million for the valuation that will end up being challenged. And based on history, we also anticipate collecting about $1.1 million for the county in bankruptcy cases. Bankruptcy, when somebody goes bankrupt, they still need to pay their property taxes on properties they own, and it's our job to go in and ask for that and to collect it. The second key performance indicator is to provide consistent and accurate legal advice. When I became county councilor, I ended up dividing up our work into 6 practice groups. I thought it was important to have more than one person knowledgeable about all the areas, but to sort of get us kind of catching up with the practice of law and specializing in certain things. That's not just a trend, but there's a reason why that has happened, because things have gotten more complicated. And so we have most of our work divided up into 6 different practice groups, and we provide training sessions to other departments, agencies within the county. We provide cost-effective legal services. We have 8 attorneys total, including myself, representing the county. And those 8 attorneys are representing not just the commissioners and the electeds, but a total of 63 department heads and elected officials. And if you divide that by the number of employees in the county, we have about 1 attorney for every 325 people who work for the county. We do monitor changes in the law. As you know, we have someone usually dedicated, certainly this last session was dedicated to following legislation in Topeka, not just monitoring what's going on, but we've actually, when directed by the commission to do so, we've indicated how we think the laws ought to be maybe tweaked or suggested amendments or whatnot to represent our interests, and we've done that. And of course, we've also, all of our attorneys end up having to keep up with trends in the law by doing continuing legal education, which is a professional requirement. In regard to the county court, which I indicated is one of the things we do, we have about 700 cases a year. I'll be honest with you, about 82% of them are parking tickets. And I wouldn't say that it's a horribly onerous task, but it's something that needs to be done, and it raises a decent amount of money. But the other 18% are code violations throughout the unincorporated parts of the county, which are important, at least to a lot of people who they think their neighbors are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and things that our code enforcement officers think they shouldn't be doing. We will write citations for that, and people will come to court, and we will hash it out in front of a pro tem judge. And I'm proud of the fact that it only takes us an average about 35 days to get every one of those cases resolved. In regard to outside counsel, we do have a budget request for outside counsel. That apparently has always been historically the case here. There are things that are just appropriate for outside counsel to do. Sometimes if we have a little bit of a conflict, if not technically a conflict, then certainly there's a perception of a conflict, and so we quite often will use them for that purpose. I've done that a couple of times this year. In regard to efficiencies, I will tell you that based on what was given to our office for 2015, we ended up returning $249,000 out of the $1.9 million that was granted to us. $116,000 of that was salary savings. We had senior attorneys retire, replaced by attorneys who are newer. But there was $132,000 in other savings that we also realized. And our budget request for 2017 is actually $100,000 less than our target of $1.9 million. We're asking for $1.8 million. In regard, and continuing with the trend on efficiencies, I would point out that we do get sued. Many of those lawsuits, they're making a demand for a considerable amount of money. I think we've always been pretty good about keeping those payments down to a reasonable level. We've defended you all and been pretty successful in keeping our settlements to a reasonable level. We had 15 major lawsuits the last 3 years. $32 million was demanded, and we ended up paying out $430,000 on that.
Ooh-ah. That's a good thing.
And in regard to the Board of Tax Appeals, we had over $983 million in value that was preserved, that was challenged by folks. So our budget request is broken out between 4 different categories: personnel, contractual, commodities, and outside counsel. You can see there from the chart that we're asking for virtually no change in the personnel. We're reducing all the other 3 items, some significantly, for a total change to our budget of minus 5.3%. In regard to dividing it among those 4 cost centers that I described to you earlier, I thought it would be more accurate to put into the administrative side of things the reality of what we do. So you'll see an increase there, but there's a reduction in all the others for, again, that 5.3% request. And I have no Nothing to report in regard to revenue packages or alternative reduction proposals. Didn't really understand what that meant, so I don't think I should answer questions I don't understand. So, with that, I will stand for questions.
All right. Commissioners, any questions for the council? Commissioner Unruh?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Counselor, the outside counsel request is down from this year's revised number. Is that, do you anticipate doing more in-house, or do you think there's going to be less cases, or how does
Well, you'll recall that when you all were properly anticipating the retirement of the county counselor and a couple of other retirements, and so you, at their request or someone's request, you put more money in for outside counsel to get us through last year. And we've gotten through last year, and I don't think it ought to remain at the same level.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And that is the line on slide 15 that talks about contractuals. That's that line that Commissioner Unruh is referring to?
Part of contractuals is that.
Okay, part of it.
Well, actually, outside counsel is a separate line.
Oh, I see. It's different. Oh, that's the, okay. Can you talk about the contractuals and what's that include?
Contractuals include we contract with a legal research firm to do, they provide us with computer research for our office, and also our settlements. When we settle with people, that's viewed as a contractual.
Okay. Well, that's a big number. 40.9% is
Right.
Is
we
eye-opening.
reduced that, and of course we've reduced outside counsel by about $50,000 also.
Yeah. That's eye-opening. And just from my understanding, is your office fully staffed now?
We think so, yes.
Okay, so
I think they'll want to be paid more, of course, but I think that we have the number of people that we need.
all the positions are filled.
I think, yes, we don't have any vacancies.
Very good. Well, I just want to say I think that your office is doing a fantastic job. I've always been impressed with the counselor's office, but never more than I am today. So this is, just want to say you're doing a great job and appreciate all you do for the county, especially for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll continue to do that.
I don't see any other questions or comments here from the commissioners, so I guess we'll say
All right. Thank you.
job well done. We'll go on to the next thing.
Have a great day. Perfect timing.
They'll catch me up, I'm sure.
All right. Who's ever in charge? I don't know. It looks to me like our schedule shows that Register of Deeds is next.
And Commissioners, that will be on page 36 of your volume 1 book.
Victoria's got to do that thing. Okay. Where is it? You get it up here.
Might I ask, when you point out the areas of the book to go to, I appreciate that. If there's any decision packages, can you point that out as well at the beginning of the budget briefing? That way we can be aware of what's coming up. We can see it.
Okay. Absolutely. And
So-
there won't be any for this.
Okay. And I'll just continue to just assume that if you don't say anything, I'll assume there isn't one. But if there is one, I'll assume you'll tell us.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tanya Buckingham, Register of Deeds. I'm going to follow the county counselor and have a tech person behind me doing the slide. Victoria. Great idea. I'm going to also start with the mission for the Register of Deeds. For the Register of Deeds is to accurately file, preserve, and provide records while meeting our statutory requirements. One of our core services is to file documents that pertain to real estate and make them available to the public. Our staff files and collects the appropriate fees, scans the documents, indexes the information, verifies the information through quality assurance, and returns the original to the customers by mail. Another core service in the Register of Deeds office is the preservation of documents. Our records are locally stored in both microfilm and digital formats, and a copy of the film is stored at the salt mines. Our budget request for 2017 includes an increase in personnel cost. However, the contractuals and commodities stay the same. Since 2002, our office has transferred approximately $4.5 million to the designated county fund, and we plan to transfer $500,000 this year. Legislative action in 2014 began a 5-year phase-out of the mortgage registration tax, which started last year. Mortgage registration tax revenue has and will continue to decline until 2019, when that income is lost altogether. The increase in recording and filing fees were added to at least partially offset the loss of revenue from the Mortgage Registration Act changes. The full effect of these changes may not be known for some time. On this next slide, you'll see the comparison on the rejection rate, and since the changes in the fees and the mortgage tax took place, the total amount of rejected documents has drastically increased. Looking at the first year, the fees changed in 2015, one can see the dramatic increase in rejected documents from a 2.7 to 8.4%, even though the number of documents are only slightly increased. Now, the next slide, I'd like to share our department efficiency story. This is really exciting, the qualitative. Our customer service clerks requested the availability to offer card payments to customers, and we listened. Previously, if a customer called our office for copies, we would tell them the cost, wait for a check in the mail, and once the payment was received, we would mail the copy. This process could take up to a week. But now we can process their order over the phone with their card and return the copy to them more quickly at no additional cost to the customer. And previously, when we had walk-in customers and they had no cash or check, we had to direct them to another floor to go in the courthouse to utilize the ATM. Now, by accepting credit and debit cards, the payment process is faster and it's more convenient, and they're happy about it. To summarize, our 2017 request is $1,154,457, which includes personnel, contractuals, and commodities. Also, we are not requesting any revenue or decision packages. Thank you, and I stand for questions.
All right, Commissioner Ranzoff?
Yeah, well, what's the reason for the increase in the personnel?
Lindsay, I think that is the health insurance and also the pay pool.
Commissioners, in each department already there's been built in a 2.5% compensation pool and 7% increase in health insurance premiums.
Oh, okay. So that's the okay.
So it's not people.
No.
Okay, Commissioner Unruh?
Thank you. On using the card payments,
Yes.
there's an expense to us for that. Does there not?
Not to our department budget, but it is with the finance.
Okay, so is it not a significant number?
I don't.
I mean, it's great to help the customers, but I mean, how much it costs us is what.
Right.
If it's not much, well then, okay.
I think it depends on how many transactions, are used with the card, so we won't know that yet, but yes.
Okay.
Let's go back to slide 7, if you don't mind. I'd like
Okay.
to have you help me interpret this chart.
Yes.
The filing fee, that's fees paid by people who purchase, or actually have mortgages, and that's a fee they pay.
Yes.
So it's a revenue to the office, right? So in
Yes.
14, the office received almost $240,000 in filing fees. 2015 was $437, and then 2016, $719.
Right.
At the same time, the mortgage tax went down, and that was also revenue, correct?
Right.
So technically speaking, in 2014, you received both the $1.588 million and the $240,000 together.
Yes. Yes.
So if you add those up and compare 2014, 15, and 16, those numbers are about the same. Actually, maybe even going up a little bit. Is that true? So there's actually more revenue to the department now than there was?
No. The filing fee, it went up, almost tripled from 2014 to 2016, and then the mortgage tax slowly goes down. But as that filing fee goes up and then that mortgage tax goes down, it's going to be down to zero. And this is just for the first 3 months of the year. So it's just a comparison for what we've done the first 3 months.
Okay, so Commissioner Peter John's already added this up for me. So in current year, our total revenue for the two sources of revenue is $1.864 million. Last year at the same time was 1.903. So we've had a very small reduction in revenue between last year and this year. The previous year, 2014, was 1.828 million. Actually, would be less than it is currently this year. So we have more revenue today than we did in 2014. Is that true? I mean, am I reading that correctly?
Yes, but that, it's all going to depend on if a mortgage came in for $6 million and you collect a lot of mortgage tax, you're going to have more money that's going to come in. So it just depends on what is filed during that year. So the first 3 months, you might have like a commercial mortgage that comes in for $6 million, you collect a lot of tax. And that's what we're going to end up losing by 2019.
Is 2014 the first year that this was implemented? So
2015 is the first year that it was implemented.
Okay.
And
based on what I'm seeing so far, I don't see any significant difference in total revenue. I mean, it's very minor.
Right, and I think it's going to be minor now, but when you get to 2019 and there's no mortgage tax at all, it will be major. Because, in the years past, we've had like $5-6 million in mortgage tax that we've collected that we will not have anymore.
But doesn't the filing fee also transition over 5 years, so it's going up every year?
Yes, but like $3 per page, and it's not going to offset that.
Are each of these linear? In other words, is it like a fifth per year change, and each one goes up a fifth per year, one goes down a fifth per year? Is that the type of? Yeah, I don't know how it works.
Well, this year it's 20 cents per $100 of the principal amount of indebtedness, and then it'll go to 15, 10, 5, and 0. So it goes down, and then it goes at 2019. It's 0. Does that make sense?
Well, I understand what you're saying there. I understand those are the rates. But what I'm asking is, from before the law passed,
yes,
from that point till 2018, we've got transition both in mortgage taxes and in filing fees.
Right.
Are those transitions over 5 years? I believe it's a 5-year transition, right?
Yes, yes.
Is it transitioning an equal amount, let's say 20% per year? So one's going down 20% per year and one's going up 20% per year till they hit their 2018 levels. So one's going to be 0 in 2018, the other one's going to be 100% of whatever it's going to go to.
Right.
So if these are linear transitions, I guess I'm wondering, we've already got 2 years here. What makes us think we're going to see a significant difference in the future in terms of total revenue? All right.
Excuse me.
Commissioner Unruh.
Well, thank you. I think that this is anticipated that we would see a minor impact to our revenues the first 2 or 3 years until it got fully implemented, and then there would be a significant in the millions difference between our mortgage tax and the filing fee. And the second impact that we face is, it seems like I heard Mr. Meeks say repeatedly that they're going to start doing a lot more of that electronically, or change the way they do that so that the page numbers for that filing fee also reduces. I may not be saying that right, but did he anticipate that there'd be fewer pages for us to charge?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I don't know what he meant by the fewer pages. I'm not sure. But I mean, we do e-record a lot of documents, but that doesn't change anything as far as the fees for our office. It doesn't.
I just thought I recalled he said that we'd have a double impact. The first one is fully implemented. We would have a significant reduction in revenue, and then this other aspect, which I'm obviously not remembering correctly, was going to be a kind of a second hit.
Don't remember what it was that he.
This is kind of a comment question. I would say the original legislation that happened that year, I think this happened a couple of years in a row before it actually passed. And so when it finally did pass, the original legislation that year that was considered was very, it would have reduced revenue drastically. But what ended up being passed, I believe, was a compromise that was more palatable. I think, again, much like the tax lid, the base legislation was scary, and what ended up passing was a compromise towards a middle position. So I don't think it was as damaging as what they started out that year, but the sentiment that we all felt at the beginning of that proposition is still around. I'm just curious if we can do some projections and really analyze where this is going. Because I know we saw some projections earlier that year that were alarming. My question is, what What's our real estimates? And I guess maybe Lindsay's got an answer here. Go ahead.
Well, I can tell you what we've included in our forecast for now, but we can obviously get with Tanya and make sure it's confirmed. But just as an example, in 2014, before the first year before the phase out began, if we combine officer fees with mortgage registration fees, we brought in a little over $6.6 million. By 2019, which is the first full year that we would have this fully implemented, we're estimating that with just officer fees and the Heritage Trust Fund money that we get, we'll bring in just barely over $2 million. And so that would be lost revenue right there of 4.6 between 2014 and 2019. And then those 2019 numbers, we would expect to grow a little as the economy continues to grow and we have transactions that we can record. But we can probably count on somewhere around $2 million once that's fully phased in.
Okay, I understand those estimates, and I'm glad that you have those. I'm curious, do you see what I'm seeing on this chart in terms of we have not seen a significant change? And we would have seen some kind of a change trending in that direction if that's true. And I don't know how you can explain we've had pretty much level revenue. How do we explain that?
I think what Tanya's chart shows here is the first 3 months only of those 3 calendar years. And over the course of the year, that's when we see kind of those fluctuations. We didn't see a major hit in 2015, in 2015, because we had only lost that 5% of what was assessed. But that will continue to grow each year. I also think there was some speculation during 2014 that maybe folks were waiting to see what happened with the mortgage registration fee legislation, and maybe we're holding off on filing some of those things until after that was resolved. But that was purely speculation at the time.
Okay, and can you let me know the estimates that you came up with for the 6.6 million in 14 and 2.0 in 19? Was that done a few years ago, or has this been done recently? This estimate? This
was just done in our first quarter update.
Okay.
So these were updated just about a month ago.
Okay. Well, and this is based on current law, based on what the information she's provided to you in terms of how many mortgages we expect and that type of thing. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to assume it's correct, and that sounds like good information. It just doesn't. I just don't see it in this chart yet. So I guess it surprises me. Commissioner Peterjohn, do you still have comments or questions?
Yes, and I'm going to kind of follow up because this is just showing, like you said, the first 3 months. I was curious, since we've got the whole year for 2014 and 2015, are the whole year figures roughly the same as what we see with 14 and 15 for the first quarter? Tanya?
Let's see. 2014, the mortgage registration fees were $5.7 million, and the officers' fees were $860,000. Then in 2015, the mortgage reg was $5.4 million, and then it was $1,461,000 on the officers' fees.
Okay, because if these quarterlies are fairly reflective of the full year, we've got a pretty good handle on it. I think the question in my mind is, I expected a bigger overall hit when this legislation started to kick in, and it hasn't been as much because the filing fee revenue has exceeded what had been projected, and the fall off hasn't been as quick as I think had been projected. So the question I think going forward obviously is what the 2017 estimate should be put into the budget at, and these numbers, like Commissioner Howell had been talking, are much haven't changed as much as frankly I thought they were going to change, and that's a good thing in my opinion. But whether that continues or not is the $64,000 question, and maybe even $684,000, $640,000 question in the Register of Deeds budget. Let me move on to slide 8, just for clarification purposes.
Okay.
When you say yearly comparison January to April, the right-hand side is the total reject percentage. So basically, it's fair to say that as we've gone through this process, we've had roughly a increase about 3 times of the rejects that your office is having to deal with. And that's got to be a significant challenge going forward. Is that mainly due to local customers, or is it mainly due to we've got folks from out of state that your office has to deal with who aren't as familiar with Kansas statutes and rules and regulations?
I think it's both. It's not, it doesn't really reference whether it's Wichita, Sedgwick County residents or banks from out of state. It's just everybody. You know, when the fees change, you know, there's a lot of rejects. And that's why, you know, we came not too long ago and I asked to change one of the part-time employees to full-time for a couple of years while we got through this phase of these rejections. So
we were not seeing a reduction so far, at least in 16. Actually, the numbers are a little bit worse than last year. And last year, the numbers were, like I said, roughly 3 times what they'd been previously. So this is a continuing challenge. And now let me understand the blue line up here. When you say total documents, is that the total documents? When you say yearly comparison, January through April, is that basically for the first 4 months of the year, or it's? I'm a little concerned when you say yearly, and then I've got January through April.
Yes, it's just for January through April, and it's the total documents that are recorded, compared each year for those months.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have
Further
any
questions from commissioners?
All right.
Seeing none, thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thank you.
I see Dale Miller in the back of the room. I think we're ready for our MAPD budget hearing.
And Commissioners, MAPD is on page 104 of Volume 1, and they do have a decision package, and that will be on page 16 of Volume 2.
What was the number in the budget book? Volume 1?
It's page 104.
104. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dale Miller. I also brought Derek Slocum, who's my budget expert, with me, since this is the first go-around for me. Let's see here. I can be as brief on some of these early slides as you'd like in terms of our mission and the departments. If you'd rather that I be more detailed, why, let me know. But I think since we're over here quite a bit with the zoning cases, you have a pretty good idea of what the department does. But if you need more detail, let me know. But we do have right now, we have zoning and subdivision, we have comprehensive planning, and then there's an administration division, are the 3 divisions that make up the department. We provide boundary annexation survey support to county GIS as part of that. We provide professional planning services to the community. Primarily, the way you would see those is in the zoning and plat cases that you review when they come over here, and we provide the connection between the citizens who are concerned about a case possibly and ensure that the hearing goes through in a fair and equitable manner. That's the main thing that we try and get done. We serve all 508,803 folks in Sedgwick County in some fashion by doing the land use work that we do. As you know, we process the zoning cases. We attend meetings in the cities whenever there are cases that are in those areas of influence. We have the comprehensive planning section that you just recently saw the primary work on the community investments plan that you adopted back in January. Provides the basis for most of the zoning decisions that we make. And again, we do the boundary annexation survey work for all the cities in the county and submit that. Administration provides administrative support to the folks doing the casework. We're essentially down to 3 people plus myself doing that. And there's the budget numbers for 2016, 2017. As you can see there, I believe there's a $111,000 request. Primarily, we're making that request because there are uncertainties about the demand for the department. There may be changes in the way other departments are handling casework that could impact the planning department. It's not clear to me yet how that's going to impact us. The other thing is the way we are now, my old position, the current plans manager slot, is open, and so we've been operating without that position, and it would be advantageous if we were able to fill that. Right now we have 14 people doing the work. Since about 2009, we're down about 30% of where we were in terms of staffing, and we are currently looking at trying to reorganize the department to see if we can be more efficient and offload some things that we're doing now possibly, and be able to focus on caseload, as the zoning caseload seems to be increasing slightly, but certainly since 2008 it's been going up. There's the details there. The efficiency story, primarily this has to do with a technical fix that Derek came up with how we provide the agendas to the Planning Commission. We used to give them hard copy, and we had a number of commissioners who weren't even connected to the internet and didn't have computer access. I think we've got that resolved now. And so with that, we were able to get tablets in conjunction with WAMPO, since WAMPO has a lot of the same meeting needs that the Planning Commission does. We were able to join forces with WAMPO and buy tablets, and so we load the agendas onto the tablets, and so when the Planning Commissioners show up, they don't have to bring any paper with them. The tablets are all right there, and they can pull up stuff and look at it without having to having had us mail the information to them ahead of time. It has, according to this, had a 74% reduction in cost attributed to meeting preparation, such as staff time, printing, postage. So we've done that. Again, Derek is the one that helped come up with that. The other thing that we've been doing, but we've been doing this since 1996, is we went through the zoning code and we looked at all the activities that we did and tried to make things that were minor in character and reduce them from requiring public hearings to administrative adjustments. And so there's a laundry list, a long laundry list of activities and land use tweaks that staff can do administratively at a very reduced cost compared to having to have a public hearing, and we've been doing that since 1996 and continually look for opportunities to convert something that requires a public hearing to an administrative adjustment. This would be the decision package, that $111,000 that I mentioned. As I mentioned, the caseload is slowly coming back up from where it was in 2008. Over the past 6 years, we processed an average of 642 cases per year. For example, the last closing date we had Monday, we had 9 cases filed, and those would be just the zoning and conditional use cases that require public hearings. And so right now, the 3 current plan staff members that do that would be responsible for doing that. And as the caseload goes up, it becomes more difficult to divide that many cases among that few people. And so on top of that, and then plus this potential change in the way plans are reviewed, we're trying to anticipate if there's going to be an increased demand on staff time, is why we're making the request. And let's see. Budget summary there. I guess there's the, yeah. Just try and answer questions then.
All right, commissioners, questions?
I'm sorry, just say that again, what this money's going to go for?
Well, right now, my position, my old position of current plans manager is open. And so what we've done is we spread that work around other people. But so there's the responsibility of trying to oversee the casework. And then there is this potential that we may be asked to do more work that we have not currently done before. And so this basically is a contingency that if that came about, we would be able to fill the slot that is now currently open and try and maintain some efficiency. To be very honest, at 14 people, to continue doing all the stuff that we're doing now is going to be very difficult to do that. And that's part of why we're looking at if there are responsibilities that we have now that we can offload those to another department. We're trying to look at that. But this is essentially a contingency situation that if we need to have that 15th person to keep us operating at the level that people expect, we would be able to do that.
Well, that says plan implementation.
Right. Current plans is plan implementation because all what in the planning world, all the zoning cases and conditional use applications and all those types of cases are implementing the goals of the comprehensive plan, and that's why it's called plan implementation.
Okay, what happened to the money that was budgeted for your previous position? What is it being spent on?
It is, as far as I know, it's just going towards the overall operations of the department. I mean, for 2017, there is no money to fund that position.
But there was in 16.
Yes.
Okay, what happened to that money?
It has been pulled off.
Who pulled it off?
Well, it's the city has put that position on hold. So for 2017, unless we can figure out.
What are they spending that money on? They put it on hold. That money was there. It should still be there. Unless we need to find out what they're spending that on.
Well, am I not explaining it right?
They took that money away from us, so. They took the money away from us.
Yeah.
Let's do it, plan.
How can they take the money away from?
They're not accounting for that money in our budget.
For the 2017, they're presuming that position will not be filled. I guess is the best answer I can give you.
Well, I think they need to assume that it will be filled, and the same money that's used this year will be used next year.
Okay.
Okay. I think I know what's going on. Okay.
Commissioner Unruh?
But this request that you're making of us is identical to the request to the city?
No, because this would be trying to make up the difference to address the fact that we don't have the full amount on both sides. It would give us an opportunity to maintain that 15th position.
But, okay, maybe I didn't ask my question. This is we're 50-50 with the city of Wichita on this enterprise, right?
No, it's 60-40. The city is contributing more than the county starting in 16.
Okay, so this would be 40% of your total request to run the department.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, we're asking for the $111,000 on this side. We're not asking for an additional on the other side, if that's the question.
I I mean, your total budget request, the total, was 695, 858, that's 40% of the total to run your department, is that right?
No, that's more like 46%. So we're bringing it back up closer to 50-50.
Just,
Okay.
here's the problem. Last year, we reduced our amount by 100 and this amount, basically. We took it out of future plans,
Correct.
okay? Now, the city has unilaterally shut down that position that you're talking about and taken that money so they can spend it on future plans. They've created this hole, okay? You have enough money for this. Our intent was to take that position out of future plans, not current plans. I understand they didn't like that decision.
Okay.
But now, I don't know that they have the authority to take away that position without our consent. That's what the money is supposed to be going on current plans. So, with all due respect to our colleagues, I think you need to have a conversation with them, or somebody does, Mr. Manager, and get that resolved, because
Well,
they're creating a problem in current plans that shouldn't exist.
on May 25th, we have the MAPD decision package. We have their workshop to discuss all this. But keep in mind, at the same time, we're seeking a new agreement. And in that agreement, we're paying 50-50 cost, which right now we're not. So we have to take that into account for the 2017 budget as we look to this. But as far as the points and the line items and the positions, that is something that definitely needs to be worked out between me and Bob Layton.
Well, if they're going to continue to do what they're doing in future plans, I don't believe we should pay 50-50.
I'm just telling you what the agreement now, the draft that we had developed and we pushed across the street had a 50-50.
It needs to be 50-50 of current plans.
Like I said, we have a workshop. We'll discuss the details of it.
I'd like to go back to a few slides, if you don't mind. Going back to slide 9, that's how Lonnie wanted to get a picture. Lonnie, now's your chance. Oh, you got a handout. We didn't actually get a handout, so I'm having to depend on the screen here. And some of these slides went by pretty quickly. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and go to slide 13, please. We have handouts now. Okay. All right, next slide, please. So that 15.96% increase, that's the salaries and the insurance, but that's also including the decision package or not?
That would include the decision package, that 2017 requested column.
Okay. All right. Am I supposed to? Is there some way I'm supposed to know that? Is that intuitive on everything here, that every decision package is included, or is
No, and for the most part, decision packages won't be included in those totals for 2017.
Okay. It's a little late now, but if we could have an asterisk by those that are, whatever the normal is, if there's something that's different than normal, let us know that somehow so it's intuitive on the sheet. That would be helpful. So I'm not going to remember. I'll write that down, but I'm going to forget.
Well, the way it's designed right now is that their budget totals aren't. The budget and what Lindsay was saying, the decision packets are here. They're just at the end of the slideshow. So you're seeing 2017 minus those decision packets that are at the end, which is kind of how we designed it. And we also have a sheet that we might just give you that has all the decision packets on it. Maybe you need that. as a way to kind of guide you through the process. If it's on there, those are ones that we need to add consideration to. But there are some that are in there, and it's listed on that one table, right? So
I'm just saying it's confusing to me as to which ones include increases. Again, you made the comment earlier that there's everything, all the staff has a 2.5 plus 7% included. So if that's across the board, I understand that. That makes sense. On the decision packages, if they include them or don't include them, whatever you want to call normal is fine. But those that are not normal, let's highlight those somehow so we know that. That's all I'm asking.
And this should be, my expectation would be this would be the only one that we have where that's occurred.
Well, that helps. Okay. Further questions from commissioners? All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Miller, thank you so much for presenting this morning.
You're welcome.
And we'll move on to the next budget presentation. I think is from our treasurer, Linda Kazire.
And commissioners will be on page 96 of volume 1, and there are no additional packages, decision revenue, or alternative reduction proposals.
Thank you.
Gesundheit.
We're actually on schedule. Interesting.
I think it's more than that left to me.
Is there a handout for this one?
Yeah, we're going to.
Okay.
Randy went to get the copies.
We'll go ahead and get started while we're waiting for those to show up. We can move. Go ahead and move
Since
forward.
I'm the only person between you and your break, I'll make it quick. How's that?
Oh no, take as much time as you want.
Oh, no, I like quick.
Okay, I'm done.
Already we've got a split commission.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Kazire, County Treasurer. As you're aware, the Treasurer's Office is kind of the bank of the county. We collect, we bill, we distribute to 107 taxing authorities. We do have 2 departments within our division. We have the tax department, which is general fund, and then we have the tag department, which is a motor vehicle fund. We are listed as a Tier 2 in the mission and services statement, which basically says that our responsibilities are to bill, collect, distribute real estate, personal property, motor vehicle, 1620M heavy trucks, special assessments, and we distribute the money to the city, the counties, school districts, townships, cemetery districts. Part of our responsibilities are to register and collect motor vehicle taxes and other fees for the state of Kansas, and make the tag office totally self-funding, self-supportive. For the tax department budget request, we're going to accept the exact budget department recommendation, of which 87.92% is for personnel costs, 5.33 is for our contractual costs, and 6.74 is for our printing, postage, and various office supplies. As you're aware, it costs money to send all those bills out that we do, so we have to allocate funding for that, of course. If you'll notice on our summary, there's a very large amount of $2,318,000. That's for the new tag office. That's a one-time occurrence. I don't think Chris is going to be generous and give that to me every year, so I can ask him, but he'll tell me no. We're not asking for any additional funding for the tax or the 110 budget for 2017. We already outsource what we can, which is our billing, the printing of that, the folding, the stuffing, and the actual mailing of the billing. We don't do that in-house. We send that out. And we've asked for, like I said, no additional funding or programs, so we don't have a decision package for you to consider for the tax department. We don't have any additional new revenue to report nor any way to get any additional revenue for the tax side. We don't have any alternative reductions. So here's our summary. Our 2017 request is $1,289,112. And now I'll start with TAG. I would like to thank you for getting us a new TAG office. This is the first presentation I've made in 5 years that I have not asked for a TAG office. So I thank you very much from my heart. I truly do thank all of you for supporting the TAG office, seeing the need for the TAG office. And if you'll notice, I've got June of 2017 as our decal, and it says thanks, because not only I appreciate it, but all the staff appreciate it very much. We request no money from the general fund budget for TAG. We have the best budget people working with us. We have Carly, we have Lindsay, and they help forecast our revenues and all of our expenditures for the TAG office. And at that, I'm done. I kept it short and sweet, and I am very thankful.
My board's lit up this morning, so you got a lot of questions.
Oh, good. Okay.
Commissioner Ranzau.
Thanks, Linda. I'm glad you're getting your TAG office.
Thank you, Richard.
On the contractual services,
Yes, sir.
It goes up 142,000. What falls within contractual services?
That's our maintenance on our office equipment. We have a remittance processor that we scan all of the checks that come in to, and then we upload those electronically to the bank. We have copy machines that we have to pay for. We have Garda, the company, the armored car company that comes, gets the money to take it to the bank.
And so what's the 142 increase? Is it anything specific or kind of in?
No. Oh, are you looking at TAG or tax?
It's page 97 of the budget book.
I'm looking in the contractual services increase of 142,000.
Oh, it's everything combined. Oh. Well, there's no increase for the tax. So it would be for TAG, which was we have to have an increase there to cover the utilities at the new facility and all, because utilities are paid by us at the TAG office. So we estimated high because we're going from a smaller space to a space 3 times as large. I don't know if it's going to actually be that full amount, but in the contractuals, we pay phone service, we pay
all that stuff. Okay.
Lease data lines, we pay all of that.
That's all I have.
All right. Hey, Commissioner Peterjohn.
Yes, Linda, I'm looking forward to being there at the grand opening for the TAG office, too.
Thank you, Carl.
But looking at the backup information, looks like your headcount, the FTEs, is staying the same at 80 people. And when I back out the TAG office side, the overall personnel costs are pretty close to flat.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some talk about higher insurance and the 2.5%. Are those factored in there in these numbers?
Yes, they are. We had some long-term people retire last year, and so their salaries, people we've rehired, have been lesser, and so that's been some reasons why that our personnel costs and tax have not gone up.
Okay. That covers it. Thank you.
I don't see any other questions or comments. I'll just say I'm excited about the TAG office as well. It's interesting to me that we solved the. How many years is this? Before you said last 5 years, 5 years.
5 years I've asked. Jan Kennedy actually started asking for this when she was treasurer, and then Ron Estes, and then myself.
I've heard this is going back to the year 2000 or so. People have been requesting this.
I would assume that's correct. I probably will defer to Chris because I was in the Register of Deeds office at that time. Do you think it's been about that long?
Yeah. So we solved a problem. I think we did it in a good way. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. If anybody hasn't seen it,
It's very nice.
amazing. It's going to be great. And Commissioner Peterson?
Yeah, one last question. Did they get the punch list finished?
We do our walkthrough tomorrow afternoon,
Oh, okay.
So that's
and Mr. Manager is going to be with us. And if any of you'd like to join us, you're more than welcome
What time
to.
can we do that? What time?
It's at 3:30.
3:30 tomorrow. Okay.
Is that right?
Is it tomorrow or Friday? Friday.
It's Friday. I'm sorry, Friday.
Tomorrow is Friday. Better be.
Tomorrow is Friday. Wait a minute. Now you guys got me confused. See, I've been up here too many days in a row. I was up here yesterday and again today. Is it one? Oh, I'm sorry. It's at 1:30.
1:30.
1:30 to 3:30.
Well, I think that we'll try to support that if possible. I
Okay.
think it's a great opportunity, but
If nothing else, I might need Carl again.
Well, the manager is a perfectly adequate substitute
Oh,
for
okay.
me, and I think he can probably jump a little higher than I can.
You think? Okay.
He's a little bit more chronologically gifted than I am.
well, anyway, I think this is great news, and in my opinion, it has not got nearly enough press. The media has been. They haven't given it much notice yet, so I hope that they do.
I think they will at the ribbon cutting and then after we actually open the doors to the public. I'm sure hoping so.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I think that's all the questions and comments for you. So we will. I think you just saved us 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Let's take a 10-minute break. Let's come back at 10 minutes till 10 o'clock. Is that okay? Okay, 10 till 10. Thank you.